Since I was a child, I knew that I loved to cook. I won my first 4-H ribbon for Best Brownies at the Kentucky State Fair when I was only 10 years old. I grew up on a farm, and my way out of the field was into the kitchen with my mom. From learning to cook to decorating cakes, my mom inspired my culinary career. Since then, I've made cakes for country music stars, and for the past 10 years, I've served South Central Kentucky through catering and various restaurants. I'm Elizabeth, and I love to cook, and you can love to cook with me. Hi, I'm Elizabeth, and this is Love to Cook. I love to cook, and you can love to cook with me. Today, we have a guest. The guest is Gena Couch Rowe. She's here from the Platinum Salon and Jitter Bean Coffee House. And Gena, tell us a little about yourself.
I recently took over Jitter Beans last September and made it my own little taste of home, and so it was a way for me to bring in my home cooking and the Southern home cooking that I had and share it with the community. And then I have owned Platinum Salon for 9 years. So I'm on both sides of the building, and there's a little trap door in the back that keeps me running both ways throughout the business, about 12 to 17 hours a day.
You know, and I didn't even know you cooked.
I grew up cooking. I came from a family of 5 kids, and in my house, if you didn't learn to cook, you probably were going to starve. And if you didn't get to the table fast enough, you were going to be hungry at bedtime.
Wait, you said 5.
I have 5 brothers and sisters.
I'm only counting 4. Who's the 5th one?
Well, Kelly's first.
Then Kelly was my friend. Kelly worked with me my very first job at Baskin Robbins.
Right.
Kelly and I worked together, so we're fast friends.
And she was class of 80. And then
she's older than I.
Scott was 81.
Scott Couch, he's on Fox News in Nashville. We know where he is.
And then me, I was number 3.
You all were just
I
kids
was a
at the door.
favorite. And then Chris owns Apollo Computers. He stayed here in Glasgow,
yes.
And he loves to cook. And then Andy lives in Owensboro area, in the Owensboro-Henderson area. And Andy had been in Glasgow and worked for 911 and recently transferred back to the Owensboro community.
Chris is the one I didn't know.
Chris owns Apollo Computers, and he has adopted 8 children in the community.
Wow.
And so he has a huge family, and his wife loves to cook. Actually, both my sister-in-laws are fantastic cooks.
Well, we love to cook around here. And so this is a recipe that Gena's kind of liking. We're going to do a southwestern pork loin, and we're going to do it in the crock pot. I love the crock pot because if you're home, you've got other things to do, it's great. If you've got kids, you've got other things to do, it's great. And if you've got a job and you got to go, it's great.
It's a necessity.
I love it. I love it. It's my go-to when I'm busy. And you can put it on at night. You can put it on during the day. If you're going to be gone longer, you can put it on low. If you need it faster, you can put it on high. So this is a recipe that takes 6 to 8 hours for a half of a pork loin. Now, you can buy a small one. I tend to buy whole ones because I go out to Phillips IGA. They have a lot of great meat out there. They have these on sale pretty regular. And so I'll just grab a whole one and stick it in. I've got a really cold fridge, so I stick it in there and wait till I need it. So this was perfect.
We get a lot of our meats from Phillips.
They're amazing.
I live in Edmonton. I work in Glasgow.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I'll drive to Phillips and I'll load up and get their meats. Their hamburger meats are so clean and fresh, and
they are.
So we do love the fresh meat in the community that we live in. We're really lucky.
Yeah, we are lucky
able to have.
And we do a lot of barbecuing, so it's nice to have a place, know that there's a place with big portions of meat that we can barbecue that are thawed. A lot of places have them, but they're frozen and you can't barbecue that. So we're going to take this pork loin and we're just going to put it right into the crock pot. I like to wash it, so I've already washed it. So we're going to set it in there. And
what
Gena,
do you wash your pork with?
I just wash it in regular water. And I don't. There was a time when you salted down meat, but we have clean meat now. But I like to wash it off just to get that extra whatever's in the package off of it.
Sure. If I get a piece that's really messy and it's really gooey, I will use a saltwater rinse. But if it's a good, clean piece of meat, I'll just, rinse it off with water. It depends on what kind of meat.
Yeah. So I'm going to let you go ahead and add the ingredients. We're going to use salt. We're going to use a teaspoon of salt.
Did you already measure?
Yeah, they're all measured. Just
is a teaspoon. And do you want me to put the dry directly on the meat?
Yeah, we're going to put the dry right on the meat.
And that's important for new cooks and young cooks. You don't always put it down the side if you're wanting to do a dry rub.
Now we're going to do a teaspoon of pepper.
I would probably keep the black pepper out if I was making it myself because I'm afraid of all peppers, including black.
Well, the thing about it is with pork, now I don't eat a lot of hot food. Go ahead, that's a teaspoon of oregano.
You don't eat a lot of hot food yourself?
I don't, but pork needs a little heat when it's cooking. Now, I don't say go overboard with it, but it needs a little heat. So it's the one thing that I'll put red pepper flakes in if I want to. We're going to put some hot pepper juice in this, but and you've got a teaspoon of chili powder.
So this has got a little bit of heat in it. So would you think that this recipe is going to be on the medium to spicy?
Oh no, it's not spicy at all.
Okay.
All that's going to cook into the meat. It's just going to be the flavor profile of that Southwest flavor. And I just gave this a rough chop. This is a couple of cloves of garlic. And I'm going to toss those while you're doing. And your last one is a teaspoon of cumin, which is really flavorful, and something you can add to it. It kind of makes you, it cheats you into thinking that you've got more meat. So when you put it in chili, it makes you think you have more meat than you really do.
Cumin was not something that I grew up using as a regular household flavor. My mom just didn't use it, so I didn't have a lot of experience with it. But in the last 6 or 7 months, I've cooked with it a lot. I'm surprised how rich and heavy and flavorful that it is.
And we've got these are mild green chilies. I pick them up at IGA. They are not spicy at all. I love them if you want a little zing,
I agree.
But no heat. The mild chili is the way to go.
Do you want to put this on the side?
I like to put it right on the top.
Put this on the top.
Because we're coming around with we're going to use some more of those peppers we had last week that I canned. They're jalapenos and cayennes, but they have hardly any heat at all. So we're going to put these on the side with the juice.
Okay.
So that's going to be part of the stock that we're using too. So here's the heat.
As if this wasn't, this is probably where I would stop. I'd be scared.
Well, my fiance and I like to grow assorted peppers, ghost peppers, reapers, cayennes, jalapenos. We take them all and I put them through a Foley mill and can them in the summer, and I come out with what we call insane sauce. It's insanely good.
They smell.
And it's pretty doggone hot. But
it's got a mild, sweetish smell.
Put
doesn't smell
one
like
and a half, and I know this is scary, but this is the equivalent of hot sauce. Hot sauce is not all that hot when you're using it to cook with. So after that, the last thing going in is our apple juice, and we're going to use about 1.5 cups. So that's this whole.
And you said
that's this whole bottle, and I'm using one that doesn't have any added sugar because I don't want my roast to be sweet when I'm done. Although, with all the spices we've got, it's going to be a hard thing to do to make it hot.
And you had said it was important not to destroy the seasonings that I've
That's right.
carefully
I like them. I like the seasoning to stay on top. So while it's cooking, and you know, I'm really guilty of putting too much liquid in my crock pot. So I'm really trying to watch that these days, and that's why we're not putting any more, because a lot of juice is going to come out of this pork. And I'm going to add a little red wine vinegar from Reed's Livery. I really just adore the flavor of these vinegars. A lot of the local wineries, they make vinegars, and they're really delicious, and they're such an addition to your food. So that's it. It's all in the crock pot. We're going to put the lid on, 6 to 8 hours. We're going to come back and we're going to have roast.
Phillips Family IGA in Hinesville specializes in the groceries your family needs. Expect to get fresh cuts of top quality meats daily. Like them on Facebook to see weekly sales and specials. Love2Cook's own Elizabeth Buckley with a Square Cakes and Catering can handle your wedding reception or company banquet, serving delicious homemade food and even better desserts. Book Elizabeth for your event today. Country Closet Consignment in Edmonton features a large selection of furniture, clothing, primitives, as well as Kindleberry candles. And don't forget they have a tanning bed in store. Stop in Country Closet Consignment Monday through Friday from 9 to 5 and Saturdays from 9 to 4.
So we're back, and our crock pot is all heated up. Meat is done. 68 hours later, and look at this beautiful roast. Just great. And it's going to be delicious.
Fantastic.
I'm going to lift it out.
You can still see the seasonings and how beautiful they were.
Everything just went down into the roast.
Oh wow! And look, there's not too much juice, just like you said.
No, and I personally am not going to throw that away. I'm going to put that into something else somewhere.
To inject it, or
And you know, my favorite part is this little back strip right here.
is that one of the back fat
That's-
parts
it's
that
this
has
little
a little
strip.
bit of fat
It looks
and
like, oh yeah, it's just.
and how does it taste?
That's a yum. Oh my goodness, y'all, you should try that. You've got to try this recipe.
Because that's so juicy and so rich and dark and full of so much
I'm
flavors.
going to save it and put it in some bone broth.
Sure.
We make bone broth all the time. So I'm going to save it. Put it in some broth. So
Tell me
you've got your roast. So first night out, baked potato, butter, sour cream, roast. Great.
Steamed cauliflower.
You're probably about this far. That's probably about this far into that roast. You're going to have all this left.
So
for the next meal.
I'm not great when I'm cooking at home I overcook. I'm used to cooking for such a big family and so many brothers and sisters. So going into my marriage, even though I only have one son, I still overcook. So you feel like that first portion would have fed
Oh, yeah, well.
you and Bobby, or me and Dean and Chase?
Not your son.
Yeah.
Your son is eating us out of house and home.
Yeah,
now.
he's an eater right now.
I think they may have changed his medicine. He's eating everything in the fridge.
He's eating a lot.
But so no, this might be one meal for you. But for normal families.
Yeah. Chase loves supper time. That's his favorite.
So, second night, we're going to grab some greens. Stick some greens in your bowl.
Sure.
And you know, this is just going to come apart. See how easy that comes apart? We're just going to shred this up.
These are beautiful greens. My family.
I'm shredding this
All
with
of us
tongs,
eat.
y'all. So that's some tender meat. Look, that's so beautiful. I love pork loin. It is one of my favorites. Smoked. Oh my goodness! Don't even start.
I've got a lot of lettuce here. Now, we haven't started our greens in the garden yet, but we will. Have you started? Because now is a good time in the spring to go ahead.
The farmers market, I'm down there all the time, and so I'm in cahoots with one of the farmers, and these came from the farmers market. These came from the community farmers market at Think Little. Bounty of the Barrens in the next couple of weeks. I think they're opening soon, and they'll have it. So what we're going to do is we're just going to put some of this delicious meat right on top of this salad. And Gena, grab some. We're going to do some.
Oh, we're going to just decorate the
we're going to make a
as
great Southwestern salad. And this is great to put in some Tupperware, take to work with you. Have in the refrigerator for supper the next night.
They're
so what I'm
good
trying
for
to
you.
say is that when you cook this, take this time. This is your first meal, your second meal. So this is really 3 days worth of cooking when you think about it.
That would be fantastic.
Yeah, this is 3 days worth of cooking.
When you make it a salad, it's going to go a lot farther. And my family would
for
even
sure.
get a sandwich out, and they wouldn't mind at all to make a great pork sandwich with it and still have a salad that evening with it.
So we're going to put some, those were black beans, canned black beans. I washed them off. We're going to put some frozen corn.
It's really important to wash the black beans because
It is. They have
such
things
a
on 'em.
thick black canny syrup.
Yeah.
And the beans can take on that flavor. And I didn't realize it when I was a young cook.
And then we've got some, I'm using mozzarella cheese. I love mozzarella cheese. This is from Kenny's. I love Kenny's cheese.
I love all cheese.
And then, and this would really be good with shredded Gouda, smoked Gouda.
Oh.
I love smoked Gouda. And then a nice little dressing.
That's a beautiful
Gena,
salad.
What's your favorite food memory?
One of my favorite food memories growing up would have been in the early 80s. Scott, I think, was probably in college when this happened, and he would come home on Fridays, and Mom would always cook a really big family meal. Family meals were important for us. I raised my son having family dinner pretty much every night. We were not a drive-through family, not only because it cost so much, but because it was important for us to all sit down and share our day, you know, at the end of the day together. So Mom was cooking a great meal. I'm pretty sure it was a Friday night dinner for Scott coming in from school, and we had roast, and this was back in the 80s. Microwaves were around, but not everybody in the neighborhood in the very early 80s had a microwave because they were very expensive. So we had a microwave. The Gums in the neighborhood, Tommy and Tish, they had a microwave, but not everybody did. Mom was starting to try some microwave recipes, because the microwave oven came with a whole array of recipes just to cook in the microwave. So it was huge. The microwave was big.
Oh, they were massive.
And it was big enough to cook a whole roast in, a big, huge family roast. And Mom was trying the bag recipes where you put your roast and your potatoes and your carrots in the bag in the microwave for what I'm sure was way too long, because when we all had dinner that night, we could not chew the roast. We chewed and chewed and chewed, and nobody wanted to tell Mom that we couldn't swallow it, but we couldn't swallow it. And we were all looking at each other, and there was no cell phone. We couldn't text each other from across the table and go, what are we going to do with this? But we could not finish the roast. The carrots and the potatoes somehow were fine, but we were meatless that night. And so that was one of my favorite family dinner stories, that and a turkey story.
That reminds me, the very first microwave we went out and got, I was a new wife, new homemaker, ran out and got that microwave. And of course, we always had pinto beans. Oh, I'm not sure why I thought this would work, but the first thing I did was grab a Pyrex bowl and some pinto beans and water and put them right in that microwave, and after hours and hours, they were still sitting there hard as bricks, and I thought, well, this isn't worth a flip, and I didn't use that microwave again for years.
For a long time.
For years. I said, well, that thing won't even cook pinto beans.
The late 70s, I can remember I was young and trying to read the recipes, and I made an apple crisp, and the apples should not be baking in a microwave. It just shouldn't happen. But I tried it.
So many fails. I wonder about kids these days that can just YouTube everything. They don't get to fail like we did.
Going through the cookbook, and picking out a recipe.
Yeah, and we failed miserably.
I made fortune cookies because the Betty Crocker recipe cookbook made it look so easy, and homemade fortune cookies at the neighbor's house did not turn out very good.
Oh, no, I used to love to make fortune cookies. Now, that was one of my things.
It had a lot of vanilla, but it did not turn out very good. I
love fortune cookies. When I first got married, we had a crock pot, and my mother would always make the most delicious roast, and she would take the roast out, and she would take the pan and sit it on the stove and whip up this great gravy. So I cooked my roast in the crock pot. It cooked beautifully, and I took out the crock and I set it on the burner, and I turned that burner up on high to make my gravy, and that crock went cracked.
Because we didn't know.
Nobody told us. Nobody told us anything, and YouTube was not around.
I took one out of the oven. It wasn't a crock pot crock, but it was crock, and I put it on the new glass top stove when I was a young bride, and it shattered. Pyrex
If I had all the dishes back that I'd shattered, I'd have a cabinet full. Well, this is a delicious salad to have on the second night and for lunch. But that's not good enough. I'm going to take this beautiful pork loin and I'm going to turn it into an Asian sloppy joe.
I'm excited.
Phillips Family IGA in Hinesville specializes in the groceries your family needs. Expect to get fresh cuts of top quality meats daily. Like them on Facebook to see weekly sales and specials. Love2Cook's own Elizabeth Buckley with the Square Cakes and Catering can handle your wedding reception or company banquet, serving delicious homemade food and even better desserts. Book Elizabeth for your event today. Country Closet Consignment in Edmonton features a large selection of furniture, clothing, primitives, as well as Candleberry candles. And don't forget they have a tanning bed in store. Stop in Country Closet Consignment Monday through Friday from 9 to 5 and Saturdays from 9 to 4.
So we're back and we're going to turn this delicious southwestern pork loin into an Asian-inspired sloppy joe.
I'm excited.
Who thunk it?
We love sloppy joes at my house.
We do too, but I love Asian food. I love the profile of the flavors. So this is a great fix for me. So I'm going to work on this. What we're going to do is we're going to start with some sesame oil. I hate those little things. And remember, sesame oil has a low, it just can't go long before it starts smoking. So you want your temperature low.
Pretty low.
Yeah, we're going to do this low and slow. So I'm going to add a little garlic in there. I already had that chopped, and I'm going to chop an onion. And Gena, what's the funniest thing ever happened to you around the food?
The very first turkey I ever made, turkey dinner, was probably, I don't know, maybe 1996. And my favorite Uncle Will came to town, and I was so proud, and I was cooking the turkey at Dad's house. And it was just a small dinner. It wasn't all the brothers and sisters, but whoever could get home that afternoon. And I'd cooked it overnight, and I'd cooked it low. I'd cooked it with, my favorite turkey recipe is the orange juice turkey stuffed with oranges. I've started that years and years ago, and it wasn't done.
Oh
It had cooked about 12 hours, and it was too low, and it was my first one. And not only was it not done, I forgot to take the bag out of the center of it. And so the gizzards and the neck and the liver and everything was inside the turkey. But I was not even 25 years old, so it's taken a few tries. I've learned, and I've cooked lots of family orange glazed turkeys since then. But that's one of the funniest beginning recipes I ever tried. And it's all trial and error. My family has eaten a lot of dishes that we've learned on.
Don't they all?
Yes.
It kind of makes you feel bad for the first ex-husbands, right?
Well, I don't know. I have to tell you, a few years after he was the ex, he said, "There's one thing I really miss about Gena, and that's her lasagna." Really? He missed my lasagna. He wasn't my favorite.
I don't know. So my ex-husband came to a birthday party Sunday night, and he sat down. Of course, I always make all the cakes. I make all the cakes for the birthday parties. So he sits down with this big piece of cake, and he said, "Did you make the cake?" And I said, "Yeah, but it's okay. You can have some. I didn't know you were coming.
I didn't poison you.
I didn't know you were coming."
No. Yeah.
Looked at me so funny.
If I love you, I want to cook for you. So I've cooked a whole lot for my husband. My favorite husband, Dean.
So far.
Yes, and anybody that knows me knows that he's my favorite husband. Okay.
So we're working on these onions.
So do you want them to really
Oh, can you
caramelize?
smell it?
I do. Do you want them to cook much, or you want them to be a little crunchy?
I want them to cook down a good little bit. I don't want them to be crunchy. I like for them to caramelize out because with the meat, and I'm going to julienne the meat so that we're going to have that kind of sloppy Joe feel. It's not going to be as little as a hamburger, but we're going to give it that feeling.
How many days do you feel like, so this is meal 3 on this pork. How many days do you feel comfortable?
Family of 4, especially if you're taking it to work with you. So my thought is that it's a family of 4 for 2 nights, and your meal at lunch for 1 more. So I think 3, and this is a meal that's going to run you about $15 to $20, a little more expensive than what I usually cook because there are so many ingredients. But if you're like me, you probably have a lot of, like I keep black beans and I keep frozen corn. So this is a meal where you can just jerk stuff out of the cabinet. And also, like I'm always telling you, a recipe is just like being with the GPS. You can go straight there just like it tells you, or you can veer off and put something else in, take it another direction if you want to.
Absolutely. If I didn't have everything, which this is stuff, everything you're making, I would have in my kitchen, just as an everyday cook. And I'm not a big fancy cook. This is everyday cooking. But if I didn't have black beans, I would probably substitute it for a red kidney bean.
Oh yeah.
In a heartbeat. Now I wouldn't
or you can just leave the bean off. I mean, it's a salad. It's whatever you like.
I wouldn't put Van Camps in that.
No, but I don't think Beanie Weenies would go. So I've put altogether about 3 tablespoons of sesame oil with what I put a whole pretty large onion in there because I love the sweetness of the onion. And so I'm going to add
your garlic.
I put in a clove and a half of garlic. And I'm going to add these little sesame seeds. Now, you don't have to. It's going to be just as good without them, but I like them, and I want them to heat up a little bit. So I'm going to put those in there.
Is it going to toast them a little?
It's toasting them a little along with that onion, which I love. But like I said, you do not have to have the sesame seeds. Everybody does not have those in their pantry. So to this, we're going to add some hoisin sauce. I keep hoisin sauce. Now, do you keep
I've never used it.
Lasts forever. I've had this one for years, and I'm using the last of it today. It's a soybean-based product. It's got a really deep, rich flavor.
Is it a paste?
It's gelatinous. It's
it is.
It's very Asian. I think to them it's like our kitchen bouquet, where we would add that. They add this. So we're going to add a 1/4 of a cup of hoisin and about 2 tablespoons of soy sauce, a 1/4 of a cup of brown sugar, and about a 1/4 of a cup of ketchup. What would any dish be without ketchup?
Wow.
So there's our sauce. And too bad you cannot smell this.
It smells fantastic.
It is absolutely delicious smelling. And so here is our sauce, and what we're going to do, we're just going to toss our meat in it. Here's our pork loin.
And you cut that cross grain.
I julienned it, big cuts. We're going to put it on a bun. All that lovely pork loin. And we're just heating it up at this point because the meat's already cooked. It's already tender. We're just getting those Asian flavors in it.
Oh, wow.
Taking away the Southwest, putting in the Asian. And see, that way you don't have to eat the same flavor profile. You took this in a whole new direction.
Completely changed it.
Completely.
Wow.
See, I believe most anybody can pull a recipe and cook. It's what we're going to do with those leftovers.
Yeah.
Because we all do it. We all overcook.
I'll make
I
this.
do it on purpose.
This is something I'm going to make. It smells so good.
Oh.
It looks so beautiful. We can make this at lunch. This looks great. We may call this the Elizabeth sandwich. What would you like?
Oh,
the
my
Elizabeth.
goodness. So
what would you like?
Open up my bun.
Sure.
We're going to put that right on top of the bun.
That is beautiful.
Oh my gosh. Y'all,
Can't believe the sauce. How much flavor.
And you almost can't get enough cooked onion for me to love it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you open up those pickles, this needs a little something bright.
Oh.
A little slaw. If you've got some leftover slaw, that's great. If you don't, bread and butter pickles. And I'm using slider pickles because it covers the whole bun.
Mm-hmm.
And you're done.
Oh, that's
you're
beautiful.
Done. And I'm going to try some. I don't do this often, but trust me, I love these. Do you want to
I'm afraid I'm going to make a mess all over the place.
Oh my God, Jenny.
It's going to be, I'm going to take a bite off of yours because I'm that kind of girl.
That is a yum. I almost like this better than I did the first 2 meals.
That's amazing.
And so simple. I know it took a little bit to do those onions, but throw it on there with a pickle. Oh my goodness.
That sauce is so good.
Right? Right. You must try
sauce.
this. I'm going to put it on Facebook. You can get the recipe, and you just must try it. It's a must. It'll be one of your go-tos from now on.
And it doesn't taste, like it's not such a crazy Asian. It's a sweet.
That's what I love about it.
It's a sweet Asian.
And the pickle, these little simple little bread and butter IGA pickles.
Kick it up a notch.
Kicking it up. And how much trouble was that? It might have took me a minute to open the jar.
Not a minute.
So I love it. So Gena, you stayed here in Glasgow.
I did. Well, Chris and I are the only of the 5 siblings that have stayed here and stayed part of the community, and we've raised our children and our families here, and we're really lucky that we were able to do that. I grew up in a great neighborhood with great people, and I wanted the same thing for my family and for my son. And so I actually was lucky enough to even raise him for a little while back in the same neighborhood that I was raised in.
How long have you been in business there?
I've been at Platinum for 9 years.
9 years.
But I've been in the business for 14 years.
14 years.
And that's crazy because I'm only 30.
I know. I know, right? I'm thinking, I've been cooking for, wow, I've been cooking a long time.
For the
And
public?
Oh, yeah. I used to own a little catering company in Glasgow called Sweets Galore, and we were the only ones until Gracie Hall came along.
Right.
We were the only cater.
Right.
We catered everything. We were go-to. Of course, then I had a few years off and came back, and it's amazing how food has changed. Just amazing. And you see that. Look what we're doing now. And we're not cracking pots. We're not burning up roast in the microwave. Not on a good day, anyway.
I love that you did the crock pot cooking, because I started as a young cook with crock pot cooking, and as a young wife and a young mom.
So that's about all we've got today. Gena, thank you so much for being with me.
Thank you for having me. This was great. We always have such good times together.
Check us out on Facebook, Love2Cook. Let me know what you think. Check out our recipes. We'll soon be hooked to YouTube. You can watch the show there. And like us, send me a message. I'm Elizabeth. I love to cook, and you can love to cook with me.